August 17th, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. You can look at the descriptions below where I timestamp all the setups that I saw, as well as where I took my trades. On the chart, I take trades and I box out the setup that I saw, so I don't have to watch the entire video. There was only one piece of economic news that came out, which was the unemployment claims that came out at 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard, which is right about here. And I guess you could argue it caused a sell-off, but I highly doubt that because this between here and about here is only a 5-point move. So I don't think the unemployment claims was really anything that caused this big sell-off to happen. I think this is just the market deciding to sell off. Now the trend looked like it was pretty much, or price action looked like it was pretty much kind of in a very gradual downward trend that I marked up with this red trend channel. And then it looked like it was another channel leg down, which is this yellow one. And there was some consolidation areas. This is kind of like an overlapping consolidation area, this big one. I guess it was kind of a trading range that I was thinking was playing. And then there's a smaller one here, and then kind of another small one here, and a really tiny one here. And again, there's this big one here, and then a smaller one, a sub-overlapping one. It was a little bit confusing. It reminded me of the trading yesterday, which looked like it was in a trading range, and it sold off, kind of stayed in this consolidation range and sold off again. Today, I guess you could argue it stayed in somewhat of a range, then sold off and then ended in a range again. I managed to take only one trade today. I didn't find too many setups, but the trade that I did take was very close to the end of the day. Now, yesterday I didn't take a single trade, and then today I was just sitting through all this chop. I missed these two really good setups, and so I think when I saw this setup at the very end, I decided to take it, which I would advise most of the time I wouldn't, because I took it at, I think, with only 8 minutes left in the trading day, which is a little risky because you'd be running into a risk of taking a loss and ending the day in a red. Fortunately, it worked out for me and it ended up in a green. So there aren't too many trades today. I'm going to try to go through this rather quickly. So in the pre-market, I drew the pre-market lows and the pre-market high, and I wasn't around to see these, but I did mark it up. I did see these two pretty good trade setups right here. Creates a new high, and at this point, if you were trading this at this time of day, you could see that there is a confirmation and a channel going up. So a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This is a possible trade, except this candle is really, really strong and really, really big. It engulfs the previous candle almost. There's a second entry long right here, but to take this trade, you're running a really big risk because you have to have your stop way down here. Nevertheless, it looked really strong because it had this really strong bullish move. So after this, you would expect maybe at least enough for a scalp. Then it kind of repeats the pattern again. Right here is a new high, first entry long, second entry long. And then this one is also a very strong green candle. Not as crazy as this previous one, but it's also showing that EMA is holding. And depending on how you drew it, you could say it was bouncing off the bottom of this channel going up. So the market opens and prices are just chopping around. I don't see any good setup that I like. I first draw this trend channel going down, and I was thinking since it hit the top of here and it couldn't break through after like 7 candles, prices were probably going to come back down and test the bottom side and maybe bounce for the rest of the day. But it created this channel coming down, which is very gradual. I don't see a very good setup to take any longs or shorts, and definitely I wasn't thinking long because it's already at the top. I wasn't sure about the shorts, but I did draw this channel. Actually, start off as a trend line. I saw there might be 3 touches here. It could turn into something. I didn't quite have the bottom one, so this red line didn't exist yet. I saw a new high here, first entry long, pulls back. Technically, you have a second entry long right here and 2 measured legs. This one leg down, pulls back, and then the second leg. And you have a consolidation area here. And I thought at the time maybe there's a trade here, but when I saw this red candle flash down, I was very weary. And then this one flashed up. Definitely, though, I didn't think there was a trade here because it's too late to enter now because you have the EMA coming down. And for the most part, prices have been below the EMA. There's been some overshoots or pushes above, but it just felt like there wasn't a clean setup. And finally, I get a second entry short here. This is the first actual setup that I saw as a new low. First entry short, pulls back, second entry short. Creates a micro double bottom here. The thing is, this is a good signal bar, but it's above the EMA. It's also a potential triple test, like maybe there's a one push, two push, three push. But I don't really like counting this as an actual test. So there might be a triple test depending on how you counted it, but I only saw it as two potential highs. So I left it alone. So I had to take my trade one tick below, but it looked like it couldn't even push past this previous candle. So I didn't really like that. It looked like it would have filled you here, made you a little bit nervous as it came out, and then here, depending on if you're going for 1 point, you just have enough 1 point, but it is a very risky trade as it flashes up. This candle probably would have stopped you out because you would have had your stop here or potentially one tick above here. If you had it one tick above this original high, then you're safe so far. And it looks like it would have chopped around and you probably would have gotten the scalp here. I think most people would have had their trade one tick above this guy. So this looked like it would have stopped you out. But if you're a little more experienced, you saw what was going on, you might have actually put it one tick above here. You're increasing the risk though. And there's no saying that this couldn't go one leg up, pull back, and then create a second leg up to try to test this red line. So taking all that into account, I decided this wasn't the trade for me. I'm just not experienced or that skilled enough to read all that in real time. So certainly left it alone. Prices continue chopping. I thought I saw this as a bigger trading range, and then this is a resistance. And at this point, I wasn't sure if there was some kind of resistance here, which is this darker blue line, or was everything kind of trading within this big blue rectangle. So I just kind of watched both. Looks like right now it's breaking through this sub overlap range and kind of testing the larger rectangle, but it hasn't come all the way down to the bottom yet. I'm just kind of watching and waiting, being patient. You do have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. This just feels a little congested, so I just watch. It breaks out. I'm wondering if there's a failed breakout and if it'll come back in. I also discovered that maybe there's a downward channel here. It had one touch, two touch. And here it looks like it's kind of respecting it. There's an overshoot. It overshot here. I'm thinking if it might come back to this side. At this point, since I had this red line here, I also just not arbitrarily, I had this red line and I just decided that maybe there's an actual lower level here. So I'm thinking there's this red channel going down, but I would just be watching it carefully, not necessarily anticipating a trade yet. Prices continue, had an overshoot here, a symmetric overshoot here. Now I'm thinking it's going to go back and test this low. The first entry short, second entry short, but there's a bad signal bar. Leave it alone. Chops around and actually starts moving up. Goes up, touches where I'm thinking this red line might be valid. It holds and it actually starts pushing down. So I'm feeling pretty confident at least the top resistance is valid. This bottom one I'm not too sure of. I only have two touches right now. But since I'm looking to go short because overall trading looks like it's kind of pushing down, but it still might be within this larger trading range, I just know that whenever it comes back up to here, it's making lower highs every time. So next time it comes up to here, I'd be looking to go short. But right now, I'm not looking to go short because right now the move has been made so far. They have a pullback, continues chopping. It chops sideways for a bit, and I think there might be another channel here coming down, and it fits the bottom pretty well. There's an overshoot now, comes back. I'm wondering if there's going to be a matching overshoot on this side. It doesn't. It's going down. It just kind of gets really choppy right here, so I don't want to be participating in any of that. It kind of keeps moving. I'm wondering if there's a trading range here now because it looks like it's matching bottoms, matching tops. So it's this blue one here. It comes back, comes down, testing the highs, testing the lows, comes up, tests the highs again. Now it's coming back down. I'm thinking if it's going to come back to the lows, if there's a clean setup, I might take it. I see a new high, first entry long. Comes down. Here's technically your second entry long. I was debating when I saw this if this was a trade, but it closed too bearish. If it had been more bullish in green, I think I would have jumped on this trade. Unfortunately, it didn't, and then it flashes up, comes up, tests the top again. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's a short. So I see a first entry short. Technically, it pulls up and creates a second entry short right here. But I didn't like how this, so from here is new low. First entry short pulls up above this green doji, or this green neutral candle, comes right back down. So all within the life of this candle is a second entry short. First entry short, second entry short. But I don't like the way it ended. If it actually closed a little bit lower, then I would have been probably more confident to take a short down. But I saw it, but I left it alone. And here I actually see a failure of the second entry short. It's a little bit more clean second entry short. So it's from here, first entry short, second entry short, failure. I also saw a new high, first entry long, second entry long. When I saw this, what held me back was it's near the top of this range. And this has been some consistent tops. So I'm thinking it could reject down. It could end up also being a failed breakout. So I wanted a higher low confirmation. Breaks out, and you get your higher low right here. The problem with this higher low, though, is too close to the top of this red line coming down. And this red line looks like it's been pretty respected. One touch, two touch, three touch, four. So there's nothing to say that this could be a fifth touch, and it could come screaming back down. So I didn't know. On top of that, it's too far from the EMA. I just didn't like how it closed bearish, so I want to just leave it alone. Turns out the next candle proved that it would have worked out, but I'm again not going to chase it, so I'm just waiting now. Continues flashing up, comes back down. It's first entry long, comes back down here. It's a second entry long. Second entry long is a good signal bar, but I just don't like the looks of this right now. I also debated like if this was creating its own little trading range here, the tops here, matching bottoms here. So it made one push down. I'm thinking it might pull up and then create a second leg down. So I'm just watching here. I'm not ready to go long here, and I'm definitely not ready to go short here, even though it could be shorting back and coming back into this descending channel. I just don't know, so I have to wait. Looks like if you went long, you would have gotten stopped out. And if you went short, depending on how many ticks you're going after, you might have gotten out or you might have gotten stopped out here. So it's a little tricky right here. Then prices continue moving up. I'm thinking there's part of this big trading range looks like it's getting confirmed. One touch, two touch, three touch. The bottom's here, so it's this large trading range. It's coming down. I draw this descending channel right here, this yellow one. Actually, it wasn't a channel at the time. It was just this potential trend line coming down. And then it comes down here. And I was thinking maybe there's some kind of sub trend line channel, but I wasn't too sure. It's pretty far from the EMA. Fortunately, I wasn't able to write on any of this. It breaks out, pops around, it touches the EMA. So I was like, okay, first touch. I don't see any clean setups. EMA is holding, it's coming back down. You're clearly selling off now. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to jump on any of this. It chops around, and then it breaks above. And so here, I'm watching carefully. It had a good confirmation up here, and now there's another touch here. I'm thinking this is very similar, this red channel here. It had early touches here, and then one later one, and then moved down. So what I'm seeing here with this yellow channel is that early touches and a fourth touch here. So I'm just watching and waiting because I don't see a setup yet, no second entries. Flashes down, continues lower, touches and confirms again, continues lower. And here I was thinking there's this sub channel working within this big yellow channel. I saw one touch, two touch, and this one looked like it matched pretty well. The reason I drew this is because I noticed that this bottom part was matching pretty well here. I actually was thinking this might be a sub channel here, and I actually saw a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. I thought this was a possible trade, but I wasn't ready for it. The good signal bar is the third confirmation of this descending green channel, 1, 2, 3. And it's a rejection again off this EMA. So even though it didn't touch, it's just kind of being rejected off the EMA, and there's plenty of room all the way down. But I wasn't ready to take this trade, so I left it. Looks like it would have worked out pretty well. I see a new low here, first entry short, pulls up, creates a second entry short. I see a repeat pattern coming up here, except this one is confirming this green channel down, and it is even closer to the EMA now. So I was thinking maybe there's a trade here. It's also a potential trading range here. It's at the top of the trading range. It could be a failed breakout. It could push all the way back down for at least a 1 point scalp. But I wasn't mentally prepared again because I think I was either up and about walking around. I remember at this time of day, I was kind of getting lunch ready and I was watching the charts, kind of not watching the charts. So I was a little distracted. Unfortunately, this trade looked like it would have worked out. And it's certainly falling within this green channel now, all inside this big yellow channel. Right now, the more important one is this green channel is in play. I'm just watching it. It continues chopping down. I see no clean entry, has an overshoot. So I'm thinking it might come back and touch the other side. Chops around, it gets to the other side and made one push up, pull back, second push up. I'm thinking there's a measured move, one leg up, pulls back, second leg up. It kind of makes it, chops around. It's getting kind of late in the day now. There's a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, no setup. You have a new high, first entry long. You have a second entry long, terrible signal bar, no setup. And it kind of chops sideways. So right here, I've just been watching the entire day. I missed two decent setups right here, and I was just kind of getting like a little bit antsy because I took no trades yesterday. And even though I took no trades yesterday, I should have known better and just left things alone. But what I did see is a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. It didn't break below the EMA. I saw this potential trading range. I did know that it was late in the day, but I decided to take this trade anyways. And here I entered not one tick above, but right at the high because I wanted to give myself as much room as possible. On top of that, I took this trade because I knew it's only about half a point risk. So this candle is only 2 ticks big. So I said, well, 2 ticks big. My stop loss will be down here, and I'm going to go for maybe about 2 points because it's 388 all the way up to 390. I might get this. So I just threw my trade on. I also saw this as a third potential touch of this. So I thought there's enough room to get up to here. EMA is holding, even though EMA is flat, it isn't as important. But I'd had this key entry point coming up, and I thought, well, it made one push up, pull back, second push up, might be like kind of moving back up. I decided to just take this trade. I will admit it wasn't the best idea, and it moved up. I was able to get a quick scalp. I was playing based off of the strength of this ascending channel. And then this is like very, very volatile with the last 10 minutes of the day. I thought, okay, I got my one trade. I was profitable, just walk away. And then prices just continue into the close. So it was kind of a slow day. Although there was prices moving, unless you got on early and you're lucky, you kind of missed a lot of this big move down. Or I will admit, maybe I'm just not experienced enough to know there was a good entry here to have ridden this down. However, I did see two entries here, and this one was a reasonably good entry. It is late in the day, so that makes it kind of a riskier trade. And overall, it was kind of an interesting, kind of choppy day, and unfortunately, there wasn't too many setups though. So hopefully that was helpful.